Under the blazing sun of a summer afternoon at Green Valley Zoo, just outside Denver, a thunderous crack tore through the tranquil air. Samson, the massive silverback gorilla, stood like a mountain, his broad chest heaving, his razor-sharp eyes locked on something mysterious beyond the now shattered tempered glass wall. Moments ago, kids had pressed their noses against the glass, giggling as Samson lounged lazily on a pile of hay. But now, screams of terror echoed. Parents scooped up their children and bolted, phones clattering onto the concrete. Chaos erupted in front of the gorilla enclosure. 1 minute, sunlight sparkled on the treetops, and the crowd marveled at Samson's majestic presence. Now, the gorilla crouched low, breathing heavily, surrounded by shards of glass glittering like broken crystal. But what stopped everyone's hearts was that Samson didn't move. His colossal frame filled the wreckage, yet there was no second charge, no attack, just an eerie silence. As the panicked crowd scrambled behind the railings, zoo staff rushed in, shouting into radios, urging people back. "Get back! Get back!" But Samson stood frozen, his gaze fixed on a small spot on the shattered glass wall. The crowd buzzed with confusion. Why isn't he moving? Why doesn't he run? Security teams mobilized, prepping tranquilizer guns. They'd never seen Samson act like this. He was always calm, even gentle, dubbed the zoo's gentle giant. But today, something had shifted. Something had sparked a violent reaction that obliterated 5 layers of safety glass. Emma Larson, a 32-year-old zookeeper, raced to the scene, hands trembling. She'd been with Samson for 8 years, ever since he arrived from a failed conservation program in Africa. She'd seen him quietly grieve the loss of his mate, watched him sit listlessly in the corner of his enclosure for weeks. But never, ever had he done this. Emma followed Samson's gaze. Then she saw it, a tiny handprint, pressed on the inside of the glass, right next to the broken pane. Her heart pounded. "Wait, what is this?" she whispered, stepping closer. Another staffer looked and gasped. "That's a child's handprint!" It made no sense. No one was allowed inside the enclosure. The area was secured with 3 layers of doors, coded locks, and perimeter alarms. But the evidence was undeniable. 5 small fingers imprinted on the broken glass. And Samson, he never took his eyes off that spot. Not once. Inside the enclosure, the massive gorilla slowly sat down, not with aggression, but with absolute stillness, like a sentinel, his breaths deep and slow, his face solemn. Samson knew something before the alarms blared, before the screams rang out. He'd seen what no one else had. The shattered glass wasn't an act of rage. It was a warning, a cry for help. But for whom? And how could a child have slipped behind the walls of the gorilla enclosure? As zoo staff sealed off the area and emergency responders arrived, a chilling question lingered. What had Samson seen that no one else noticed? Emma stood just outside the barricade, radio pressed to her lips, eyes darting to Samson. He still hadn't moved, sitting like a statue, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes glued to the tiny handprint. "Check the lists now," she ordered through the radio. "Every kid, every group, especially the preschool tours." Security hustled to evacuate the crowd, counting heads, cross-checking rosters. No one reported a missing person. On paper, no child was unaccounted for. But the handprint told a different story. And Samson, he wasn't moving until someone listened. In the observation room, a staffer rewound the enclosure's surveillance footage. The cameras didn't cover every angle, only capturing key spots in the visitor area and parts of the enclosure's interior. But something odd happened 20 minutes before the glass broke. Samson had paced back and forth, slowly, restlessly. He kept glancing toward the access panel, a section of the wall leading to the maintenance corridor behind the enclosure. Then he stopped, stared, squinting through the glass as if trying to make sense of something. That's when the agitation began. He pounded the ground, thumped his chest once, and charged. Emma watched the footage twice. The moment before he charged, Samson wasn't angry. He was focused. She grabbed the radio, switching to the maintenance channel. "Get someone to check the service tunnel behind the gorilla enclosure. I need eyes on the technical space now." 2 young staffers sprinted to the maintenance gate. It should have been locked tight, but today it wasn't. The latch was loose, cracked open just a sliver. A ray of sunlight slipped inside. Within the dark corridor, narrow passages ran behind the enclosures, used for emergency exits and technical access. A faint whimper echoed through the concrete hallway. Flashlights cut through the darkness. Then a gasp. Near an electrical box, curled up like a frightened animal, was a little girl, no older than 3. She was scratched, exhausted, silent, but breathing. Her tiny hand rested on the inner wall, right behind where Samson shattered the glass. Back at the observation area, Samson stirred slightly, as if sensing something. A murmur rippled through the staff as the news spread. "They found her! Oh my God, they found the girl!" The child was quickly carried out, rushed to the medical station. Her ID bracelet was smudged, unreadable. No one knew how she got there. But as she was whisked away, Samson tilted his head, following the sound. It wasn't rage, wasn't madness. It was instinct. He saw a child in danger, and the humans hadn't. So he did what no one else could. He broke the glass, not to harm, but to signal, to save. Emma stood by the wrecked enclosure, hands on hips, staring at the handprint on the glass, as if it could answer the questions swirling in her mind. Around her, the zoo buzzed with whispers. News crews gathered outside the gates, but in everyone's hearts, the question echoed. How did a preschooler slip behind a locked maintenance panel? The surveillance footage offered a clue. A preschool group had stopped near the gorilla area that morning. The kids were full of energy, bouncing everywhere. A teacher turned to grab snacks from her bag. In that moment, the tiny, quiet, curious girl slipped away from the group, wandering down a side hallway, somewhere she never should have been. But she got there. She wandered past signs, through doors, finding one the night crew forgot to lock tight, and slipped into the technical corridor. No one noticed, for over an hour. She was trapped behind a rusted panel, curled up in a corner where no one saw. No one except Samson. Emma clenched her fists as she watched the footage. He'd been tracking her the whole time. The video confirmed it. Samson paced, glanced, and stared through the glass, over and over. He didn't look at the crowd. Not once. His eyes were locked on the wall, on the panel, on the faint cries no one else heard. Emma remembered a day 4 years ago. Samson had lost his only child, a bright-eyed baby gorilla, to a sudden illness. It crushed him. Afterward, Samson withdrew, ignoring other gorillas, refusing enrichment games. But sometimes, Emma caught him sitting quietly in the corner, watching the staff's kids as they ran by. He remembered. And when he saw that little girl, curled up, helpless, alone, something deep and primal in him stirred. Not anger, but recognition. Samson now retreated to the back of the enclosure, arms slack, the chaos behind him gone. He looked toward where the girl was found, silent, still. The staff gathered, one whispering, "We should have seen it. He wasn't attacking." Another replied, "He was calling us." screaming the only way he could. No one said more. The girl's parents were finally located, panicked visitors from earlier, unaware their daughter had been missing. At the reunion, the girl reached for her mom, then turned back toward the enclosure. Her tiny hand waved, and Samson miraculously raised his hand in return. The shattered glass lay scattered on the ground, once a symbol of violence, now something else. A barrier broken, a message delivered, a child saved, not by chance, but by the heart of a giant who refused to be ignored. Samson didn't seek attention. He didn't need applause or praise. After the girl was safely taken away, he retreated to the corner of his enclosure. Lay down, chest to the ground, head resting on folded arms. His eyes stayed open, watching, waiting, remembering. The zoo descended into chaos. Reporters camped outside the gates. National news debated animal intelligence. Social media exploded with footage of the glass breaking. Hero gorilla? One headline read. Beast or guardian? Another asked. But inside the zoo, where it all happened, the air was quieter, reverent. Emma walked along the path outside the enclosure. She paused where the broken glass had been temporarily boarded up. She looked down at a stuffed animal someone left, wrapped in tissue paper. Taped to the glass was a note in crayon. "Thank you, big monkey." She smiled, but her heart was heavy. Reviewing Samson's medical file, Emma found a detail she'd forgotten. After his mate died, Samson stopped eating for days. When staff placed a small blanket, his baby's, in the enclosure, he held it for a week, cradling it like something fragile. He didn't roar, didn't rebel. He just grieved quietly. That silence returned today. Samson didn't act on instinct alone. He acted from memory, from pain, from recognizing a child in distress. The girl recovered in the zoo's medical station. Her parents returned to the enclosure one last time. The mother held her tightly, arms wrapped around her waist as the girl looked at Samson lying in the shade. "That's him," the girl whispered. "He saw me." Samson didn't move, but he lifted his head just enough to meet her gaze. That night, as the crowds left and the enclosures closed, Emma lingered. She approached the edge of the enclosure, carrying a basket of fruit, Samson's favorites, mangoes, papayas, and a small folded blanket on top. Samson approached slowly, not for the food, but like a guard checking the danger had passed. Emma gently placed the basket in the enclosure. He didn't touch the fruit, but his fingers brushed the blanket. He looked at it, then, unbelievably, Samson sat upright, regal, placing the blanket on his lap. He stared out at the trees beyond the enclosure, lost in a place only he knew. Emma said nothing. She just watched. The wind rustled the leaves. Samson had broken the glass, but the real crack ran deeper. A fracture in the line humans draw between us and them. Samson didn't just save a child. He reminded the world that compassion isn't exclusive to one species. It's something we all carry, even behind bars. The next morning, the zoo was a circus. News vans lined up outside the gates. Reporters jostled for interviews. Millions had seen the video. The charge, the glass shattering, the stillness after. But no one could explain why. Then, the story broke. A leaked internal report confirmed it wasn't an attack, but a response to a child trapped behind the wall. The public was stunned. A gorilla saw what no human did and acted. Experts debated what it meant. Instinct, memory, or emotion? But the truth spread faster than science. People didn't just see a gorilla anymore. They saw Samson, a soul behind those eyes, not just a powerful creature. In classrooms and living rooms everywhere, Parents showed their kids the video. "Look," they whispered, "even giants can be gentle." The zoo's board held an emergency meeting. The initial plan was to isolate Samson, standard protocol after any aggressive incident. But Emma fought back. "He saved a life," she said. "He didn't hurt anyone. He warned us." The room fell silent. No one argued. Instead, they made a new decision: build a larger, safer, more natural enclosure. Not to punish, but to honor. A mural would be painted outside, not of Samson roaring or pounding his chest, but of him sitting quietly, hand on the glass, watching, protecting. A week later, the girl and her parents returned. No crowds, no broken glass. Just a quiet afternoon and a new, sturdy wall. The girl walked slowly to the enclosure, holding her mom's hand, a flower crown on her head. Samson watched from the hill above. When she pressed her hand to the glass, he stood, approached, and once more, they connected. Her tiny hand outside, his massive hand inside, echoing that first moment. But now, the world knew what it meant. Emma stood back, her heart full. Later, she saw Samson alone, stretched out in the afternoon sun. She spoke softly, knowing he wouldn't answer. "You didn't just save her," she whispered. "You changed us." The sun dipped low. Online, the reunion video went viral. This time, no one screamed. They watched in awe, admiration, and gratitude. Samson's story isn't just a heroic feat. It's a profound reminder that compassion, love, and pain aren't human alone. They're threads that bind every living thing, beyond glass walls or iron bars. Samson didn't act for fame or reward. He acted from the memory of loss, from the instinct to protect a tiny life in danger. He taught us that sometimes the most misunderstood heroes are the ones who understand us deepest. Listen, watch, and open your heart. Because even in the wildest chaos, a heart can find a way to speak the truth.